Think your blood sugar can climb while you sleep. You have not eaten anything since dinner. Not a single crumb. Yet that morning number is higher than when your head hit the pillow. That sinking feeling before your feet even touch the floor. That moment of frustration. Of betrayal. Your body is supposed to rest at night. Instead, it is flooding your bloodstream with glucose you never consumed. When was the last time you checked that number and felt defeated? Like you had done everything right and your body still punished you? Dr. Megan Foster spent 20 years in surgery, cardiovascular procedures, metabolic complications. She watched thousands of patients do everything by the book. They cut the sugar. They counted the carbs. They took the medication exactly as prescribed. And still, their morning numbers crept higher. Year after year. The ones who failed hardest were not the undisciplined. They were the ones who tried hardest. She identified the pattern that standard protocols miss. The problem is not what you ate yesterday. The problem is not a skipped workout. It is something happening at the structural level. Something medication cannot repair. Your cells have become soundproof to insulin. And no amount of pharmaceutical volume can fix a structural defect. There are 3 oils that address this mechanism directly. The third one, quietly being recommended by surgeons to their pre-diabetic patients before procedures, has produced results that surprised even clinicians with decades of experience. But before you understand the solution, you need to understand why nothing has worked. Why cutting carbs helps for a month, then stalls. Why the numbers keep climbing even when your discipline does not waver. Because the villain is not sugar. The villain is not even in your food. It is in the walls of your cells. Chronic low-grade inflammation. You have heard that term before. Probably dismissed it as background noise. Another vague threat among dozens. But this inflammation is not vague. It is precise. Targeted. And right now, it is hardening the walls of every cell in your body. Think of your cell membrane as a lock mechanism. Insulin is the key. For decades, that key has slid in smoothly. It turns. The door opens. Glucose enters the cell. Energy is produced. The system works. But inflammation changes the architecture of that lock. Picture the mechanism corroding. Not from the outside. From within. Years of the wrong dietary fats have deposited a layer of biological rust inside the tumbler. The key still goes in. Insulin still arrives at your cell. But when it tries to turn, nothing. The mechanism is jammed. The door does not open. The glucose molecules are lined up outside your cells like cars in a traffic jam that will never clear. The signal to enter has been sent. But your cells cannot receive it. This is what Dr. Foster calls the glucose gridlock. And it explains every confusing morning number you have ever seen. The standard response? Increase medication. Force more insulin into the system. Shout louder at a lock that has already failed. But no amount of volume can unstick a corroded mechanism. You are treating the symptom, the glucose level, not the receptor malfunction. Not the structural breakdown that caused the problem. Here is the number that changes everything. While you sleep, your liver produces roughly 2 tablespoons of new glucose every hour. Not from the dinner you ate. From raw materials. Manufactured internally. This is gluconeogenesis. Your liver's ancient survival mechanism designed to keep you alive during famine. In a healthy system, insulin tells the liver to stop production. The signal is received. The glucose tap turns off. But when your cells are deaf, when the locks are corroded, that signal never arrives. Your liver keeps pumping glucose into a gridlocked system. All night. Every night. 8 hours of production with nowhere to go. You wake up with numbers that make no sense. Numbers that mock your discipline. Read that mechanism again. Your cells are not disobedient. They are not ignoring insulin out of spite. They are deaf. They literally cannot hear the signal. Dr. Foster saw this pattern in patient after patient. They reduced their carbs to almost nothing. They exercised through exhaustion. They took every pill on time. And their numbers still climbed. Because they were solving the wrong problem. They were shouting louder at a deaf system. They needed to fix the hearing aid. So if this is a structural problem, a rusted lock that no amount of trying harder can fix, then the solution has to be structural too. It starts in your refrigerator door. The compound is alpha-linolenic acid. ALA. An omega-3 fatty acid found in its highest concentration in one source. Flaxseed oil. Here is what happens when ALA enters your system. It does not just float around looking for work. It physically incorporates into the cell membrane itself. Your membrane is made of fat. The wrong fats make it rigid. Stiff. Like a door swollen shut in humidity. ALA replaces those rigid fats with flexible ones. Think of it as lubricant penetrating a rusted lock. It does not force the mechanism. It restores it. The tumbler loosens. The key starts to turn again. Insulin signals can finally be received. But this is not a medication that masks numbers. It is a building material that repairs structure. The insulin receptors embedded in your cell membranes need to move. Flex. Respond. Rigid membranes lock them in place like concrete setting around a hinge. Flexible membranes let them do their job. The ALA also reduces inflammation in fat tissue itself. It quiets the inflammatory signals that caused the membrane damage in the first place. Repair and prevention in a single compound. Dr. Foster now recommends this protocol before any surgical intervention on her metabolic patients. If a surgeon cares this much, you should understand why. The dosage is 1 to 2 tablespoons daily. Start with 1 tablespoon for the first week. Morning consistency matters more than exact timing. Add it to a smoothie. Drizzle it on oatmeal. Take it straight if you can handle the taste. Pair it with a source of fiber for optimal absorption. But there is one rule that most people break on day one. And breaking it does not just cancel the benefits. It makes the problem worse. Now, here is where it gets personal. Because everything I just told you means nothing if you execute this wrong. Never heat flaxseed oil. Not once. Not a little. Not stirred into hot soup. The ALA molecule is fragile. Unstable under thermal stress. Heat transforms it from an anti-inflammatory compound into a pro-inflammatory one. You do not just lose the benefit. You add to the very damage you are trying to repair. Using heated flaxseed oil is worse than using no oil at all. Keep it refrigerated. Always. Buy it in dark glass bottles only. Light degrades it almost as fast as heat. Before each use, smell it. Fresh flaxseed oil has a light, nutty aroma. Almost pleasant. If it smells like paint. If it smells fishy. If there is any sharp chemical edge to the scent. It has oxidized. Throw it away immediately. Do not convince yourself it is fine. It is not fine. It is poison disguised as medicine. If your meal is hot, add the oil after cooking. Never during. Never before. Flaxseed is the foundation. The lubricant that unsticks the mechanism. But the protocol is not complete. There are 2 more oils. And the third one surprised even the surgeons who prescribed it. The second oil is extra virgin olive oil. Real olive oil. Not the diluted versions filling supermarket shelves. Not the ones cut with cheaper soybean oil and sold under Italian-sounding names. The active compound here is oleocanthal. You know it by the slight burn at the back of your throat when you taste authentic EVO. That peppery sting. That burn is the anti-inflammatory at work. Oleocanthal functions like a food-based NSAID. It quiets the inflammatory signals that cause membrane rigidity in the first place. While flaxseed repairs the structure, olive oil prevents further damage. Repair and protection working in parallel. 1 to 2 tablespoons daily. Use it as a finishing oil. Drizzle on salads. On roasted vegetables after they cool. On bread. The key is avoiding high heat. The compounds that make it medicine degrade rapidly when you fry with it. The smoke point is irrelevant. The medicinal value disappears long before the oil starts smoking. If you cannot access quality olive oil where you live, cold-pressed mustard oil provides mechanistically equivalent benefits across South Asia. Avocado oil works globally. Both contain the monounsaturated fats that maintain membrane fluidity long-term. Cold-pressed is non-negotiable. Refined versions lack the active compounds. The processing strips them out. Now, the third oil. The one that surprised the surgeons. Black seed oil. Nigella sativa. Used in Middle Eastern and South Asian traditional medicine for centuries. The prophet's oil, some call it. The active compound is Thymoquinone. Here is what Thymoquinone does that neither flaxseed nor olive oil can do. It speaks directly to your liver. It regulates glycogen release. It suppresses gluconeogenesis, that overnight glucose manufacturing that floods your bloodstream while you sleep. This is not a membrane repair. This is a direct communication with the organ causing the morning spike. This oil addresses the dawn phenomenon at its source. Not the gridlock in your cells. The overproduction in your liver. The dosage is half to 1 teaspoon daily. You can take it straight if you tolerate the taste, bitter, pungent, unmistakably medicinal. Or mix it with honey. The results are stronger than the taste. But there is a saboteur. And it might be sitting in your pantry right now. Masquerading as a healthy oil. Refined vegetable oils. Soybean. Corn. Canola. The generic bottle labeled simply vegetable oil. These oils are loaded with omega-6 fats. In small amounts, not harmful. But in the quantities the modern diet delivers them in every fried food, every packaged snack, every restaurant meal, they tip the inflammatory balance into catastrophe. Every tablespoon adds to the membrane rigidity you are trying to repair. They are pouring sand into the lock. And heated flaxseed oil. The very solution, corrupted. People buy the right bottle. They read this protocol. They understand the mechanism. Then they cook with it. They stir-fry with it. They add it to hot soup thinking the temperature will not matter. And they wonder why nothing improves. Because they have transformed the lubricant into an oxidizer. The medicine into poison. Remove these from your kitchen. Not reduce. Remove. 1 tablespoon of the right oil cannot overcome 3 tablespoons of the wrong one. The math does not work. The inflammation wins. You now have the protocol. 3 oils. 3 mechanisms. 1 target, restoring the cellular communication your metabolism depends on. But protocols mean nothing without this final piece. The thing that separates people who try this from people who actually transform. Picture 90 days from now. You wake up. Your hand reaches for the monitor out of habit. But the dread is gone. You check the number. And it makes sense. Not a number that mocks your discipline. A number that reflects the repair happening inside you. The lock is turning again. The key finally fits. That afternoon crash dissolves. 2:30 comes and goes. No fog settling behind your eyes. No heaviness dragging your eyelids down. No reaching for something sweet just to survive until dinner. Your energy holds. Steady from breakfast to evening. No roller coaster. No brain begging for a hit of glucose it cannot access. Because your cells can finally hear the signals they have been deaf to for years. Remember that sinking feeling before your feet hit the floor? That betrayal when you saw a number higher than the night before despite doing everything right? Here is the question. What number do you want to see 90 days from now? Not hope. Not guess. Expect. Your cells are not disobedient. They are not ignoring you out of spite. They are deaf. And for decades, you have been shouting louder, cutting more carbs, adding more medication, punishing yourself for numbers you did not earn instead of fixing the hearing aid. Today, you fixed the hearing aid. 3 oils. Flaxseed to repair the membrane. Olive oil to quiet the inflammation. Black seed to tell your liver to stop the overnight flood. 1 tablespoon. Half a teaspoon. Consistency over perfection. Structure over symptom. Building material over pharmaceutical band-aids. The gridlock clears when the locks start turning. But your liver, the organ dumping that morning glucose, has its own repair protocol. One that goes beyond oils. Beyond what we covered today. If your liver is the next piece of this puzzle, that video is waiting for you. We break down the one morning habit that can reset liver function in 14 days. The thing your liver has been waiting for you to stop doing. Your metabolism is listening. The question is whether you will speak its language.